$100,000 a year in the US still sounds like a strong income. And by national standards, it is. The latest official census data puts median US household income at about $84,000. So $100K is clearly above the middle. That is exactly why the number feels confusing. If $100K is above the typical household income, why do so many Americans around that level still feel financially tight? The answer is that Americans do not live on annual income, they live on monthly cash flow. $100K a year is about $8,300 a month before taxes. But before that becomes real comfort, it has to survive taxes, housing, transportation, insurance, food, utilities, healthcare, debt, and savings. So the real question is not whether $100K is good on paper. The real question is how much of that $8,300 is still left at the end of the month. That is what this video is about. And the surprising part is that the problem is not just income. It is a chain reaction that starts with your paycheck and ends with where people choose to live. To understand it, we will break it into 5 parts. The $100K illusion. Why a 6-figure salary feels very different once it becomes monthly cash flow. Housing broke the old middle-class equation. How home ownership became the biggest pressure point. The hidden second layer. Transportation. The cost most people underestimate. Why this is changing where Americans move. How affordability is reshaping migration. The new middle class is local. Why the same income can buy completely different lives depending on where you live. The $100K illusion. $100,000 still has psychological power because it belongs to an older version of the American middle class story. 6 figures used to suggest a comfortable life, a decent home, a car, savings, family stability, and a feeling that work was turning into progress. But income changes meaning when the cost structure around it changes. At $100K a year, the starting point is about $8,300 a month before federal income tax, payroll tax, state income tax in many states, health insurance deductions, retirement contributions, and the basic bills most households cannot avoid. The exact take-home pay depends on location, household type, benefits, and taxes, but the broader point is simple. The annual number sounds stronger than the monthly reality. This is why disposable income matters more than salary. Salary is what enters the system. Disposable income is what survives it. 2 households can both earn $100K and live very different financial lives. One may pay $1,700 for housing while another pays $3,100. One may need 1 car while another needs 2. One may pay less in state income tax but more in insurance, property costs, or commuting. So the useful question is not, how much do you make? It is, what is left every month? That leftover number decides whether a household can save, invest, handle emergencies, buy a home, move, start a family, or take risks. This is how $100K can be a strong income and still not feel like enough. Housing broke the old middle-class equation. Housing is the main reason the old meaning of $100K weakened. According to Harvard's 2026 housing research, the monthly payment on a median-priced home was about $1,700 in early 2020. By late 2025, it was $3,100. That is roughly $1,400 more every month, an increase of more than 80% in less than 6 years. And this is not for a luxury home, this is for the median home. Now compare that with a $100K income. Before taxes, $100K gives you about $8,300 a month. A $3,100 housing payment takes more than 37% of gross monthly income before taxes and before the rest of life. Harvard estimated that a household would need more than $120K a year to afford that median home payment. That is key shift. A 6-figure income used to sound like the number that opened the door to the middle class. Now, in many places, it may not even comfortably open the door to the median home. Mortgage rates make this harder. As of June 18, 2026, Freddie Mac, the government-backed US mortgage finance company, reported the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate at 6.47%. That is below some recent peaks, but still high enough to keep monthly payments heavy. For home buyers, the issue is not just the house price. It is the house price plus the interest rate, property taxes, insurance, and the final monthly payment. Renters are under pressure too. Harvard's 2026 rental report found that in 2024, 22.7 million renter households spent more than 30% of their income on rent and utilities. That was nearly half of all renters. Even worse, 12.1 million renter households spent more than 50% of their income on rent and utilities. Once housing takes 30, 40, or even 50% of income, the budget becomes structurally weak. People can cut restaurants, subscriptions, clothes, and travel, but they cannot easily cut rent or mortgage payments in half. Housing is not just one bill, it is the bill that decides whether the rest of the budget has room to breathe. The hidden second layer, transportation. Housing is the obvious pressure, but it is not the only one. In America, cheaper housing often comes with another cost, transportation. A cheaper home may be farther from work, services, public transit, and more dependent on cars. So a household may save on rent or mortgage, then lose part of that saving through car payments, gas, insurance, repairs, parking, and time. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that average US household spending in 2024 was about $78,500 a year, or about $6,500 a month. Housing averaged about $2,200 a month. Transportation averaged about $1,100 a month. Together, housing and transportation were more than 50% of average household spending. That means the two biggest costs are not luxury items. They are the cost of having a place to live and the cost of moving through daily life. This changes how cheap should be understood. A low-rent suburb can become expensive if it requires long commutes and multiple cars. A lower tax state can become less attractive if home insurance, property taxes, or car insurance rise. A cheaper city can still be a bad deal if local wages are weak or career growth is limited. Cheap is one number, affordable is the full equation. Income minus housing, transportation, taxes, insurance, debt, food, utilities, healthcare, and basic risk. Why this is changing where Americans move. Once you look at income this way, American migration starts to make more sense. People are not only moving because they want warmer weather, lower taxes, remote work, or a different political environment. Those factors matter, but underneath them is a financial surge. People are trying to find places where their income has more strength. Census data shows that from July 2024 to June 2025, 31 states had positive net domestic migration. But the more interesting story is that some of the obvious winners are becoming more complicated. Florida is the clearest example. In 2022, Florida's net domestic migration was about 311K. By 2025, it had fallen to about 22.5K. Florida still gained people domestically, but the scale changed dramatically. That shows an important pattern. Affordability is not fixed. A place can become popular because it looks cheaper, then become less cheap as people move in. Housing demand rises. Insurance costs can rise. Traffic increases. Infrastructure gets pressure. The place that looked like an escape from high costs can start developing its own cost pressures. This is why the next American migration story is not simply California to Texas or New York to Florida. The better story is disposable income. People are looking for cities and states where income is strong enough. Housing is not overwhelming. Transportation does not erase the savings. Taxes make sense. Insurance does not explode. And jobs still exist. That is the real map. Not just where people are moving, but where money still works. The new middle class is local. America no longer has one simple middle class number. It has local versions of the middle class. In one metro area, 100K may feel stable. In another, it may feel tight. In a third, a lower salary may produce a better life because the monthly cost structure is lighter. This does not mean salary is irrelevant. It means salary only becomes meaningful when placed against location. The old question was, how much do you make? The better question is, where do you make it? But the best question is, what is left every month? That leftover number determines real life. It determines whether someone saves or slowly drains savings, whether they can absorb a car repair or put it on a credit card, whether they can buy a home or keep renting, whether they can move for opportunity or feel stuck. The answer is also not simple: to move the cheapest place. Some cheap places have big job markets. Some low-tax places have high insurance or property costs. Some affordable homes come with long commutes. Some fast-growing cities stop being affordable quickly. The strongest place is not always the cheapest place. It is the place where income, housing, transportation, taxes, insurance, jobs, risk, and quality of life balance best. Conclusion: what to take from this? So, when people say 100k no longer feels middle class, they are not saying 100k is a bad income. They are saying the life that income used to represent has changed. The real lesson is simple: do not judge income by the annual salary alone. Convert it into monthly cash flow, then subtract the real cost structure: housing, transport, taxes, insurance, healthcare, debt, food, utilities, and savings. What remains is a real middle-class number. That is also why Americans are moving, not just from expensive states to cheaper states, but from places where the equation broke to places where it might still work. The American dream did not disappear equally everywhere. It became local, it became monthly, it became a calculation. The places that win in the next decade will not simply be the places with the highest salaries. They will be the places where people can still turn income into stability, where a paycheck can still become savings, and where work can still become a home. Because in the new America, the real middle class number is not 100k a year. It is what is left at the end of the month.